My name is Charlotte Brown, and I'm 28 years old. The text blinked on my phone like a warning light. Your mother is toxic. I froze, staring at the screen. Nicholas Scott, 31, my boyfriend. 2 years together, the last 2 years of my life, and he had just erased my mother from existence with 3 words. I read it again, and again. Dead to me now. Done. My chest tightened, my fingers trembled. I reread the message in disbelief. What had my mom done to deserve this? Sunday dinner flashed in my mind. A quiet evening at my apartment, plates clinking, soft laughter. My mother had said, almost casually, Nicholas, maybe you could contribute $50 a month for groceries. You've been staying 4 nights a week. $50, that was it. That was the spark that ignited this wildfire. Nicholas had erupted. He called my mother controlling, passive-aggressive, accused her of being toxic, and stormed out in tears of his own. I had followed after him, smoothing things over, apologizing to my mom for the scene. Thought it was done. Clearly, I was wrong. I stared at the text again. Done. Done? My mind raced. I loved him, yes, but love didn't feel like this. Didn't feel like disrespect. The man I thought I could trust had chosen confrontation over conversation, insults over understanding. I tried calling him, but my voice caught in my throat. Instead, I stared at the ceiling, heart hammering. I remembered all the times I had bent over backward to make him feel at home, to smooth over little conflicts with patience I thought was limitless. And now this text? A bitter taste rose in my mouth. I wasn't just shocked, I was furious. He didn't just insult my mother, he insulted me, the values I'd been raised to uphold. Respect, loyalty, boundaries. I typed 1 word in response. Done, and sent it. It was quiet after that, silent but loud in my chest. My mind replayed the Sunday dinner over and over, dissecting every word, every tone, every expression. I realized with a jolt that this wasn't about $50. This was about him, his ego, his inability to see past his own grievances, his disregard for the people who mattered to me most. I looked around my apartment. My sanctuary felt smaller somehow, constricted by the weight of his anger. I had to act. I couldn't let 2 years of my life be undone over a few careless words. The first step was simple but symbolic. The 2021 Honda Civic I'd bought him for his birthday last year. Title in my name, insurance on my policy. It had been a gift, a gesture of love. Now it was a tool, a reminder that boundaries must be enforced. I took a deep breath, letting the anger settle into determination. This wasn't just about a car. This was about respect. This was about me choosing the people who honored me, who honored my family. And Nicholas, he had just shown me exactly who he was. I picked up the phone again, and with steady fingers, I called my insurance company. Hi, I need to remove an authorized driver from my policy. Effective immediately. Sure, which vehicle? The 2021 Honda Civic. Remove Nicholas Scott. May I ask the reason? We broke up. He's no longer authorized to drive my vehicle. Understood. This takes effect at midnight tonight. After that, he should not operate the vehicle. Perfect. I hung up. The first act of reclaiming control, and it felt powerful. My phone buzzed. A text from Nicholas. What? You're agreeing with me, right? Your mom was way out of line asking me for money like I'm some freeloader. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. My hands hovered over the keys, ready to call my towing friend. Practicality and resolve replaced doubt. Tonight, the Civic would be gone. Tonight, the first domino would fall, and everything would change. I looked at the ceiling, whispered to myself, this is about respect, and no one disrespects my family. And for the first time that day, I felt calm. Morning sunlight spilled across my kitchen counter, glinting off my coffee cup, but it didn't warm the pit in my stomach. Nicholas had overstepped, and I couldn't let it slide. Not after what he said about my mother. Not after he tried to dictate my family. I texted 1 word again. Done. It felt good to send it. Empowering. Final. No more debating. No more justifying. Then I called my friend, the one who ran a small towing company. Hey, can you do me a favor tomorrow morning around 6? Pick up a car from my place. Sure, what's up? It's the Honda Civic. Nicholas is using it, but the title's in my name. I'll leave the spare key under the doormat. Say no more, I've got it. I hung up and felt a strange surge of satisfaction. I wasn't being cruel. I was being practical. I was enforcing boundaries, something I hadn't always done well in the past. But now, clarity cut through the haze of hurt. By evening, I started packing. Nicholas's belongings, clothes, makeup, the $400 hair straightener, his carefully curated face creams, everything went into boxes. I moved methodically, silently narrating in my head. You chose to disrespect my family. You chose to cut me off over $50. You reap the consequences. I tucked the spare key under the doormat with a note from my friend. It was a quiet, calculated act. No confrontation yet. No shouting. Just action. At 9:30 p.m., I heard the familiar click of the front door. Nicholas stumbled in, a little tipsy, looking for validation from friends who had apparently confirmed what he already believed, that my mother was narcissistic. He froze, then laughed. Actually laughed. What's this?" he asked, gesturing at the stacked boxes. "Your stuff," I said evenly. "We're done." His expression twisted from confusion to incredulity. "Are you serious right now? You blocked my mom, called her toxic, and now you're leaving me?" "Yes." He stepped closer, eyes pleading, voice rising. "Over one argument? It wasn't even an argument. You unilaterally decided to cut off my mother because she asked you to contribute a little to the household. That's insane." I met his gaze calmly. "I've been silent long enough. You chose your anger over understanding. You crossed a line. Take your boxes and leave." Nicholas's face flushed red. "You can't just dump me over this." "Already did," I said, voice firm but steady. "I drove here. I've been drinking. Uber exists. Your boxes are ready for tomorrow." He staggered back, defeated. His eyes, wide and desperate, searched mine for cracks. There were none. 2 years. 2 years of love, laughter, late-night talks, shared dreams. And it all ended over a simple act of disrespect. My mother asked for $50. Nicholas called her toxic, and that was the breaking point. He grabbed his purse, mascara running, a storm of frustration and shame swirling around him. "You'll regret this," he spat. "I already do," I whispered to myself, but for the right reasons. He slammed the door. I leaned against it, heart racing, but felt a surprising calm wash over me. I had drawn a line, and for the first time in a long time, I was standing firmly on the right side of it. My phone buzzed at 6:43 a.m. the next morning. A photo from my friend, the Civic loaded on his flatbed. Caption: "Got it. This is going to be hilarious." I sipped my coffee, a small smile tugging at my lips. Nicholas had chosen disrespect, and now he was facing the consequences. The day ahead was going to be messy, but boundaries, I realized, were never meant to be easy. They were meant to protect what mattered most. And right now, that was me and my mother. The knock on my door rattled me awake. Nicholas, of course. I'd known he wouldn't stay away. His ego wouldn't allow it. I opened the door just enough to see him standing there, a little tipsy, eyes darting around as if expecting allies to appear behind me. "Babe," he slurred. "My friends, they totally validated me. Your mom she's narcissistic. You can't side with her like this." I didn't move. My heart thudded, steady, in my chest. Calm, firm. "Nicholas," I said softly, almost gently, "your stuff is packed. Take your boxes. We're done." He laughed, bitterly, nervously. "You can't be serious. Over $50? You blocked my mom, called her toxic, and now you're ending us?" "Yes," I replied. "Over the disrespect. Over the way you chose to cut off my family rather than communicate. Over the way you made it about yourself instead of understanding. We're done." He stepped closer, anger rising. "You're really choosing your mommy over me? After everything we've had?" "I'm choosing respect over chaos," I said firmly. "You called my mother toxic. That's not anger. That's judgment. That's who you are, and I don't have room for that in my life." He stumbled back, face red, voice shaking. "You can't just—" "I already did," I interrupted. "Boxes by the door. Take them tomorrow. Uber exists tonight. Goodbye, Nicholas." For a moment, the world felt suspended. His chest heaved with frustration. Mine steadied with clarity. 2 years. Gone. But in that silence, I felt free. "You'll regret this," he muttered, gripping his bag. "No," I said quietly, almost a whisper. "You'll regret nothing because I don't care. I'll regret nothing either. Goodbye." He slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame. I leaned back against it, heart pounding, but for the first time in months, I wasn't crying. I wasn't pleading. I was whole. I imagined the Civic leaving my driveway at dawn, a symbol of boundaries enforced and respect reclaimed. The reality was just as satisfying as the thought. Nicholas had chosen to disrespect the people I loved most. He had chosen his anger over understanding. And in doing so, he had made his own consequences inevitable. I sat down with my coffee, letting the early sunlight fill the room. The storm was coming, yes, but I had built my fortress, and nothing, not anger, not manipulation, not regret, would penetrate it. For the first time in 2 years, I felt truly in control. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with news that felt almost surreal. Nicholas had been pulled over, driving without insurance. The Civic was gone from his possession, yes, but now the law had entered the story he had chosen to create for himself. I stared at the message, a strange mix of satisfaction and quiet relief settling over me. This wasn't gloating, it was accountability. He had made choices, and now he was facing consequences. Nicholas's world was unraveling. Court fees, fines, impoundments, social fallout with friends and family. Each consequence, small and large, a reminder of what happens when someone disrespects boundaries and refuses to honor others. Meanwhile, I took a deep breath and exhaled the tension that had coiled in my chest for days. 2 years of my life had ended over disrespect, yes, but what remained was clarity, a reaffirmation of my values. I decided to take my mother on the trip she had always wanted, a small gesture of love, gratitude, and celebration of loyalty. 4 days in the mountains, steak dinners, quiet mornings watching the sunrise. Every moment a reminder that family, love, and respect were not negotiable. We laughed, we cried, we reminisced about everything we had been through. And I realized the love I had given was never unconditional. It was conditional on respect, on mutual understanding, on honoring the people I hold dear. Nicholas had tested that limit and failed spectacularly. I sold the Civic, the proceeds funding the mountain trip, and a few small indulgences for my mother. It wasn't revenge, it was restoration. Taking care of the people who mattered most, protecting them, upholding the boundaries I had once struggled to enforce. And in the quiet moments, I reflected on the irony. Nicholas had claimed my mother was toxic. He had called her dead to him with the casual cruelty of someone who truly didn't understand loyalty. And in trying to punish her, or me, he had only punished himself. I walked through my apartment, empty now of his presence, but full of relief. No more drama, no more manipulation, no more questioning if I had done the right thing. I had. Love, I understood, was never about blind sacrifice. It was about respect. And when respect is violated, whether by family, friends, or lovers, the consequences are unavoidable. Nicholas had chosen his path. I had chosen mine. Boundaries had been enforced. Respect had been upheld. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. And that freedom? It was worth everything. The week that followed felt almost surreal. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. No laughter, no arguing, no frantic calls from Nicholas. Just a calm, almost sacred emptiness that I had never truly experienced before. It was as if the chaos of the past 2 years had finally dissipated, leaving me alone with my thoughts, and for the first time, that solitude felt like freedom rather than loneliness. News about Nicholas trickled in slowly, through mutual friends, and whispers that felt both alien and satisfying. He'd been arrested for driving without insurance. His court fees and fines were piling up. Work had let him go over the legal complications, and he had become almost socially isolated, unable to rely on the friends who had once validated his anger. I felt no glee at his misfortune, only a calm, measured sense of justice. Actions have consequences, and he had chosen the path that led to this. Meanwhile, my relationship with my mother deepened. She and I shared quiet breakfasts, long walks through the park, and evenings recounting old stories that made us laugh until our stomachs ached. On our drives, we'd sit in silence, listening to music, feeling the comfort of a bond unshakable by external forces. It dawned on me how rare this sense of unwavering loyalty truly was. My mother had never asked for anything beyond respect, and I had finally seen how essential it was to honor that. I began journaling, pouring my thoughts onto the pages with an honesty I hadn't allowed myself in years. I wrote about love, betrayal, and the lessons embedded in heartbreak. I wrote about boundaries, about learning to act with integrity and self-respect, even when it meant making painful decisions. 2 years of my life had ended abruptly, but every moment, every choice had left me stronger, wiser, and more certain of who I was and what I valued. The Civic, my gift to Nicholas, now long gone, had been sold, the money spent on a trip I'd promised my mother for years. 4 days in the mountains, crisp morning air, sunrises that set the sky ablaze, dinners at quaint local steakhouses. Every laugh, every shared glance reminded me that the people who honor your values are worth protecting. The car had been a symbol of my love, yes, but it had also become a symbol of the boundaries I refused to compromise. And in reclaiming it, I reclaimed myself. I thought often about Nicholas, about the choices he'd made. He had called my mother toxic, declared her dead to him, and attempted to manipulate me into prioritizing him over the people I loved most. He had failed, spectacularly, in a way that would ripple through his life for years to come. Yet I felt no bitterness, only clarity. Love isn't blind. Love isn't sacrifice without reciprocity. Love is measured not in gifts or gestures, but in respect, loyalty, and the willingness to honor those who matter most. One quiet morning, I watched sunlight spill across the living room and felt a peace I hadn't known I could feel. Birds chirped outside, leaves rustled in a gentle breeze, and somewhere beyond the walls, life continued as it always would. But now I had learned to navigate it on my terms. No one could dictate my boundaries, manipulate my loyalties, or define the limits of my self-respect. I closed my journal, glanced at my mother, and smiled. She smiled back, eyes glistening, knowing what had passed between us and what we had preserved. I realized then that freedom wasn't about avoiding conflict. It was about standing firm, protecting your values, and honoring those who deserve your love and loyalty. The past would always be a part of me, but the future was mine to shape. And as I walked through my apartment, breathing in the calm and sunlight, I knew this with certainty. I chose the right path. I upheld respect. I protected my family, and I will continue to live, love, and honor what matters most, no matter the cost. Life isn't perfect. It isn't fair. But sometimes the greatest reward isn't happiness, wealth, or recognition. It's peace, self-respect, and the knowledge that you refuse to compromise what truly matters. And as for Nicholas, he had learned a lesson I hope he never forgets. Disrespect carries consequences. Loyalty is priceless, and some boundaries, once crossed, can never be undone. I took a deep breath, feeling sunlight warm my face, and whispered to myself, I am free, I am whole, and I am finally at peace.